Hello everyone, Sam here, and today I bring you new details Mr. Vincent Livings presented to us on episode 27 of the official Dark Deception Q&A Livestream. This time around we have a lot of new juicy information to get through, including the names of level 11 and 12 and much more. So, without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it. As always, let's begin with Holiday Horror, aka level 9. First, Vince reinforced again the fact that there are only two types of mannequins, color-wise. That being the Red Stalkers, which are the main following threat of the level, and the White Mannequins, that will only serve as decorations / environmental traps. There will be no such thing as blue or green mannequins. Next, we all know the mannequins will be fast. One of, if not the fastest foes in Chapter 5 and the entirety of Dark Deception. But now, we also know that to be able to outrun them and survive, we'll need more than a level 1 speed boost, meaning the mannequins will be the first enemies where we will need to upgrade our powers to be able to fence off against. Vince confirmed that there will be more mannequins in Holiday Horror than there are trigger teddies in Barely Buried, and this is insane, because in their level, the trigger teddies spawn infinitely without any enemy cap, meaning there is an infinite amount of teddies roaming around. Now, I don't think the same will apply to the mannequins, especially because the quirk of infinite spawns from the teddies comes at the cost that they are able to be taken out, so it balances the enemy count. But still, this means that there will be a lot of mannequins roaming them all. Now, about the boss and biggest threat for this level, the Puppet King. Vince confirmed that, although pretty clear, the Puppet King's personality is not as easy to detect in the first encounter as with other enemies, so we will need to spend some time with him or against him to really understand and pinpoint his personality. Vince did not want to confirm whether the Puppet King will use his pointy head to impale the player, saying only that he definitely could. Lastly, about the Lord of the Puppets, Vince said that he and Darkstar will be the most dangerous enemies in Chapter 5, at least from the characters we know. Now, about the level itself, Vince did not want to talk about any traps for Holiday Horror because they would spoil too much of the level's environment, but he did say that one of them will be organic in some way. Finally, when asked Vince how close the level design from the fan game Chaotic Customer looks compared to the actual Chapter 5 level, he, interestingly enough, said that both look very different. Yes, both are just essentially malls, but the art direction for each one of these projects is unique. So we can get an idea of what not to expect from Holiday Horror once Chapter 5 releases. On to Prison Panic, level 10, and the final level before we face off Malik in the end of the game. Now, I'd like to start this segment by bringing up this recent teaser of Chapter 5, showing a mechanical skull of what appears to be Darkstar. We can see the eyes match, the facial structure is the same, and if we put them side to side it is practically a perfect match. This teaser brought forward the idea of Darkstar being a machine or android, but luckily Vince decided to confirm whether or not this was the case, and no, Darkstar is not a robot. She is her own individual being, and this teaser most likely shows what are going to be Darkstar's minions, and the common type enemy of Prison Panic. Next, when talking about the enemies' interactions in Chapter 5, Vince said that Lucky the Rabbit and Darkstar do not get along. This is most likely because both of them are very competitive in trying to get Malik's attention. Furthermore, as mentioned in the Holiday Horror section, Darkstar will be one of the most dangerous enemies from Chapter 5. Talking about the level itself, we don't really have much, but Vince did talk quite a bit about the NPCs we'll be able to find in Prison Panic. These inmates will be mortals that we'll have the chance to interact with. Some of them will be Easter egg characters from other mediums of horror, and even characters from the Dark Deception book series. We don't know if these prisoners will tie into the gameplay in any way, or even if they have something important about the story to say, but at least we know they will be present in Prison Panic and we should look for them as they might have something important to tell us. Finally, Vince said the first screenshot teaser for Chapter 5 will probably be of Prison Panic, and this point kinda relates to a moment in the livestream where, when asked about the name of the DV head enemy, that was teased in the blob over a year ago, Vince simply stated that he couldn't say much about it, but that we will get to know him pretty soon. Again, pointing to Prison Panic teasers starting to come out real soon. Now, since we finally got confirmation by Vince about the names of level 11 and 12, we will now, from this video forward, have a dedicated section for information about said stages. And to start off, we now have 100% confirmation that level 11, Malak's stage, will be called Fear Fortress, and level 12, the special stage unlockable by achieving S ranks in all previous levels, will be called Wicked Ways. Although Vince does say that the names of the levels don't really tell us much on what they will be about. We can also expect some tracks related to these levels to be released soon, most of which will probably just be roaming themes and panic tracks, aka the normal zone and chasing OSTs. As said in the previous livestream and reinforced in this one again, Fear Fortress will be the biggest level in not only Chapter 5 but the entirety of Dark Deception, subbing in fact that this level will contain 1/3 of the playtime for the 5th chapter. And, being the longest level, Fear Fortress will have the most soundtracks of any level, with Prison Panic being a close second. Finally, although Vince didn't want to confirm where the track Joy of Despair will be used between these two levels, he did say that it will directly tie into the story of Chapter 5, meaning it will most probably be used in Fear Fortress. Now, into the more general information about Chapter 5. Firstly, Vince said the community's view on how the Mecha Monkey will look like is very different to the creature's actual design, but in essence it is what people think it is. Next, most levels from Chapter 5 will have an individual theme for each zone and a corresponding chasing track, but Vince said there are some levels that will share one zone's theme with another. Monster Party is not a boss battle OST, and we still don't know where it's gonna be used. Next, Vince said that for him, the most difficult enemy from Chapter 5 is one monster we haven't seen yet. When given a prediction of what the two new powers we will unlock in Chapter 5 will be, Vince said that jumping will not be one of them, and that the other one will be similar to self-cloning but not quite it. So it will probably be something on the lines of creating a diversion for the enemies like a copy of the player. The Joy Joy Gang origins will be explored in Chapter 5, from the times before they worked with Malak, which confirms that they are not creatures created by him, rather entities that align with Malak and his goals. Also, Vince said that the gang is more than just animatronics behind mascot suits. Every Chapter 5 level will give the player an item to help with a puzzle or a boss fight, something similar to the hammers in Crazy Carnival or the syringes in Torment Therapy. Malak was never a human before the events of Dark Deception, he was always a demon. Every monster will have their motivations on why they are loyal to Malak explained in Chapter 5, and every creature will have their roles in his army explained as well. And finally, when asked about the monster version of Doug Hauser we see in the Tammy's Lullaby video, Vince said Doug does not have a monster form, and that the creature is just a manifestation of Doug's personality. But Vince also left it ambiguous whether or not we will see this version of Doug in Chapter 5, or if it was just a model created for that video in specific. So guys, that was the video. This was a long livestream with a lot of interesting questions. And now we wait 4 more months until the next one. But in the meanwhile, I was Sam and I hope you enjoyed the video. I will leave you a final message from Vince for everybody who's always asking about Chapter 5 and its release date. Until next time guys, goodbye.
I'm not going to do any announcements on Chapter 5 or give any dates or anything like that. Dark Deception Chapter 5 does have a teaser coming. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say when. I'm not going to say, is it this year or next year? Because, you know, once I give people an expectation, they tend to get a little agitated if it changes. So I don't want to set you guys up for disappointment or fill anyone with false hope. It will release. I mean, we want to make a big splash with Chapter 5, so it will release when it's the right time, when everything's kind of lined up and ready. Timing is very important for Chapter 5. So a lot of people don't understand why they haven't seen anything. And they think, I get oh, the game's dead because you haven't said anything for 3 years or whatever. They keep increasing it. It's some people are saying 5 years, 6 years. Like pretty soon they're just going to say 84 years. But I mean, the same thing happened to Bendy when they were doing Bendy in the Dark Revival. They went radio silent for 4 years. A lot of the fans attacked them and told them the Bendy fandom was dead. We're used to that. The developers, we've already put that into our expectations. We're already very prepared to weather that out. Putting pressure on the game developers and like demanding teasers and demanding screenshots, it's not going to make them crack and like, oh God, you guys are all screaming at me. Here you go. Here's everything. Please. No. I mean, we want to show you guys. I mean, it's so hard not to show our progress because we put so much work in and it looks awesome and we really want to show it off, but we know we can't. Not until it gets close to release. So hopefully Dark Deception fans, at least the ones that have been with us for a while since Chapter 1, they understand that. But a lot of the new fans don't. So if you can kind of explain that to them, because they're not always here on the live streams, like this stuff will eventually release. At one point, everybody was screaming for Chapter 4, and that did release. Chapter 5 will release. And it will be worth the wait. But I can't show as much or anything when people want to see it. So I can only say it's coming at this point. Because I know that's the big one. That's the one everybody wants. We're fully aware. So we're getting to that. It's getting closer and closer. That's all I can say.